Hello and welcome to another video by Adrian and David from Pure Electric. In this video, I'm going to be talking you through the candidate self-assessment checklist. Now, the reason that I'm going to go through this checklist is that I've had a few people contact me and some other people that I know in the industry worried that they're not ready for the AM2 assessment. They kind of feel like they're being pushed through by their college. And what I wanted to try and get through to people is that it's your choice whether or not you go in for the AM2. So just to give you a bit of background for colleges, they have an incentive. If you're on a college course, their incentive is to get you through to the AM2. They have to do that because when you're enrolled with a college, they get paid for exams that you do, you pass, and they get paid for the time that you're at college, but there's a chunk that's left for the end. And once the AM2, you're entered into the AM2, then they receive that final funding. Okay. And the reason that that was put in place was obviously to ensure that colleges didn't let apprentices fall to the wayside, and they helped support them all the way through, which makes perfect sense in an ideal world. However, there is also then that treadmill that apprentices seem to find themselves on, where they enroll for a course and it's like, right, pass this exam. Okay, bang, 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 pass this exam. Right, fantastic. You've done all those exams. Now you're straight in for the AM2. And they kind of get coerced into ticking this sheet and saying they are better prepared than they actually are. Okay, so one of the things that I want you guys to see when you're doing this is the cost of the AM2. Now, what I've done is I've just typed in AM2S cost, and this is the first website that came up. So, you know, I'm not promoting this website. I'm just using it purely for demonstration purposes. So as you can see here, the full assessment, okay, so the first attempt, it's over 3 days. The total cost is £906, including the VAT. Okay, that's a huge chunk of money. Now, if you're enrolled with a training provider, they may pay the first fee. Your employer may have to pay the second fee. If you're self-funded, then you definitely will have to pay the second fee. Okay, so again, think about who's going to benefit from this and whether you're ready. This is the whole point of the video. Then they break the sections down into a cost. So if you fail the safe isolation and the risk assessment, which a lot of people do, well, that's going to cost you £144. If you fail the composite installation, well, that's £510 just by itself. Inspection, testing and certification, well, that's £216. If you fail the second part of safe isolation, well, that's £144. So maybe if you fail both parts of the safe isolation and the risk assessment, that's £288. Then obviously you've got the fault diagnosis and rectification, which again, a lot of people fail on. So that's £216. And then the online exam, which is £144. Now, they've made it that if you fail too many, it's cheaper for you to do the full assessment again. Okay, so your maximum cost, if you get it all wrong, is only, well, it's £906 for the whole thing to be retaken. Okay, so just bear that in mind. You need to protect your pocket and your interests. You shouldn't be getting into debt because somebody else is pushing you into something that you're not ready for, which we're going to talk through. Okay, so think about the cost. So let me go to the checklist. So this is the AM2S checklist. It is very similar to the AM2, but it is on the NET website. Okay, so if you just type in netservices.org.uk AM2S, it will come up with this checklist. So as we scroll down, obviously candidate number, national insurance number, and then it gives you some important information that you should look through. So these are the things that they're going to be checking you on. They're going to be checking your competence for this. They also suggest that you should be able to install in accordance with the installation specification and the statutory, non-statutory regulations, obviously BS 7671, electricity at work regulations, guidance notes 3. And you have to be able to work on a 3-phase distribution board, 3-phase direct online motor, single-phase lighting and power circuits, a central heating system or energy with a sustainable energy system attached to that built in, and a safety services circuit and device, and data cabling system. Okay, and these are the 5 sections that we've just spoken through. Now, the way that this checklist works is that effectively you're supposed to sit down with your tutor or your assessor, and they say to you, right, okay, are you able to carry out a risk assessment, for instance? And then you say, I have limited knowledge, I have adequate knowledge, I've got extensive knowledge, or I'm not sure. Okay. And this, they have to do this. They have to. This is a fundamental part of the AM2 procedure. NET will tell you this themselves. So if you haven't even seen this form, again, which I've heard of happening, you need to ask for it. You need to make sure that you're ready for it, and you need to be honest with yourself. Okay. Because if you're not ready to go in, it's going to be demoralizing for you and costly. Okay, so be honest with yourself. And if it's not a failure if you tick some of these as limited or adequate or unsure, because again, the college are supposed to be there to support you. Your employer is supposed to be there to support you. So you can do extra work, extra CPD. You know, if you're not very good at conduit, go and buy a couple of lengths and a bending spring, practice over the weekend. Talk to other people that may have sort of metal conduit benders, work through that, do some testing. Okay, I know when I first sort of left college and I went out by myself, I bought myself a multifunction tester, and I tested the rental property that I was in. I stripped it down, tested each individual part over and over again until I understood it, and read through guidance notes free at the same time. Okay. Watching videos is great, but you don't get those on the day. So what I suggest to you is you get used to using the books, because on the day, that's what you get. You get your regs book, you get your on-site guide, you get guidance notes free, and you get a specification. So again, make sure you read the specification. That is one of NET's biggest things. Read the specification. Okay, as they go down, carry out safe isolation procedure. If you're not very good at doing this, or you're not sure because you're not doing it on a day-to-day basis, which again, I can't help feel there's something missing with people not doing it every day. It should be built in, ingrained. There are videos available. Now, I have a video. There are other videos available. So if you're not sure, watch a video. Practice. Get yourself some testers and practice at home doing it, making sure you're safe. Ask yourself the questions. What am I actually doing while I'm doing this? Don't just go through the motions, okay? Which is why my video is about 1 hour and 20 minutes long. It's not just about the process. Anyone can say L1 to L2, L1 to L3 and do 10 tests, job done, prove the unit. But it's the fundamental principles that go behind it. Again, as you go down, it talks about interpreting specifications, technical data, selection of protective devices. So do you know why you choose the MCBs or the RCBOs that you use? Installing equipotential bonding. Why do you do that? What size do you need? Install and terminate PVC singles. Okay, so again, you have to follow the specifications. Don't put twill and earth through the conduit, because that isn't what it suggests in the specification. You need to be able to install and terminate PVC multi-core and CPC cable. SY flex, heat resistant flex, SWA. Again, if you're not very good at SWA, go and buy some cheap SWA. A piece of 1 mil or 1.5, 3-core, 2-core even. It's just practicing stripping off and glanding the ends, making sure the glands are tight. Again, there's videos on it. GSH Electrical will have many videos on doing SWA. Install and terminate data cable. So again, data cable isn't cheap. Buy yourself a couple of meters, buy 2 sockets, and then practice terminating the end. Simple as that. Install and terminate FP200 cable, forming and install 20mm metal conduit. Now, some of you might struggle with this if you don't do it all the time, but again, there are videos out there. Borrow some benders, that there'll be ways around it. Go into the college, so do some practicing or something. Installing 20mm PVC conduit. Install protective devices in a 3-phase and neutral board. Install a 2-way and intermediate lighting circuit in PVC multi-core cable. And again, they'll be ticking this as you go. Be honest with yourself. Being able to install socket outlets and a ring using PVC singles cable. So again, they're giving you a bit of a clue as to what's actually in the test here. What we're reading down. Install a carbon monoxide detector in FP200. Install data outlets in Cat5. Install a 60309 16 amp 3-phase and neutral socket outlet in XLPE. SWA cable, and that will probably be on a bit of tray or something. So make sure you understand how to fix it to the tray. So I was stuttering for words there. Install protective bonding to gas and water. Connect a three-phase direct online motor circuit and SY cable. So again, if you're not used to SY cable, buy a meter. Practice terminating the ends. Install an S-plan central heating system. Now, obviously, you can't go out and buy a central heating system and start installing it. What you can do is start drawing it out and practice connecting up the cables by drawing it out, getting it in your head about what's actually happening. Again, I've done videos on this. Other people have done videos on this. You know, do some CPD, get up to speed on it. Okay. Then you need to be able to undertake a risk assessment and ensure the installation is correctly isolated before commencing inspection and test activity. Carrying out a visual inspection of the installation in accordance with Guidance Notes 3 and BS 7671. And you need to be able to complete the following tests in this order, okay, as according to Guidance Notes 3. So if you haven't got Guidance Notes 3, I suggest you buy it, get used to reading through it. Highlight keywords in your book. You won't be able to take that in on the day, but when you're looking through their book, you'll automatically look for where those highlighted points would have been. So again, you need to be able to test continuity of circuit protective conductors, and protective conductors, continuity of ring final circuit conductors, insulation resistance, polarity, earth fault loop impedance, perspective fault current, check for phase sequence and phase rotation, and functional testing of switches, sockets, and RCDs. You then need to be able to verify that the results obtained conform to the values required by BS 7671 and IET Guidance Notes 3. Again, people have done videos on this. I've got a video on all 5 of the sections. Have a look through, see what you think. Complete an electrical installation certificate, schedule of inspections and schedule of test results using the model forms as illustrated in Appendix 6 of BS 7671. So again, look in your regs book, check that you can fill those certificates out. You then need to be able to carry out safe isolation, the correct sequence on a single phase circuit and a 3-phase circuit. And then also the correct sequence of 3-phase installation. Okay, so that'll be the supply coming into the board. And then you've got fault diagnosis and rectification. So being able to undertake an assessment of risk and work according to best practices as required by health and safety legislation. Correctly identify and use tools, equipment, and test instruments that are fit for purpose. Carry out checks and preparations that must be completed prior to undertaking fault diagnosis. Identify faults from fault symptom information given by the examiner. State and record how the identified faults can be rectified. Okay. Then finally, you've got your assessment of applied knowledge exam. So it'll be health and safety, requirements of BS 7671, building regulations, inspection, testing, and fault finding. Now, again, if you've got any queries or any hesitation in that, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself, because they should not be putting you into this exam or this test unless you are ready for it, okay? They're not supposed to do that. I've also heard as well that I'll say this first, the behaviours as well. So this is all built into the MVQ and being at college as well, and it's also built into the exam. But what I've also heard of is that there's people that instead of being given training, they are being given copies of the AM2 assessment criteria. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing. So they're being given copies of the AM2 assessment criteria. So that isn't okie dokie. If you've not been on site and you've not had any practical experience, or due to COVID, you haven't been into the test centre and you've not been able to get on the tools and do some practical work, don't accept somebody sending you the assessor's assessment criteria. That isn't right. And if you do get given that, obviously speak to NET, okay? They won't be happy about it because they try and closely guard these secrets, okay? But put in some CPD, put in some extra effort, approach the college, explain to them that you don't feel that you're ready, and this is what help you need, because they are there for you, okay? That's what you need to take away from this video. Even if you allow them to push you through so that they can get their funding and draw on that money, they haven't got your best interests at heart. So I hope this has been of some use to you guys. And if anyone's got any problems or queries or concerns regarding the AM2 assessment and whether they feel that they're ready for it or whether they're being pushed through, then please get in touch, and I'll do my best to help you. But ultimately, you need to know what your rights are and that you can stand up for yourself and you can complain about how you're being treated. Okay. So take care, guys, and speak to you soon.